Hey guys, what's up? Disney Nuts here. How you guys doing? So today I'm going to show you a couple tips if you want to get started with your brand new camera. Let's go. Okay, so when your camera arrives, it's going to be coming in parts. Now, for example, you have the body in one section and you have the lens on the other, and you have the other accessories usually separated. Now, in the case of these cameras, a Canon AED, one thing that we're going to start off is eventually putting in the battery. And this usually comes with some type of charger that you can charge your battery with just in case before. It's pretty straightforward. Now, in the case of the Canon camera, this one, the AED, you can see it plugs in through the bottom. Now, I do recommend getting additional batteries off of Amazon because it's always great to have them. They're pretty inexpensive. And it always pays off to have an extra battery. The next thing we're going to do is actually mount the lens on the camera, and this is really straightforward. No science to it. And the good thing is that this actually locks in pretty well, so we don't need to worry once the lens is in there. Now, in this case of the Canon cameras, you'll see that you have like a little red dot here and a white dot, and it's basically matching it up on the other side of the lens. In this case, here's my Sigma lens. You can see it's got the little red dot here, and basically we align the red dots together. And you'll feel as it goes into the socket there, you'll feel as it connects, and then you just give it a small twist to the left and you'll hear it connect. There you go, and now the lens is ready to go. Now, if you ever want to take off the lens or you want to put a different lens, in the case of the Canon Rebels, it's here on the left. You're going to press it. Now, make sure you're holding the lens before you press it. You press it and you rotate it the other way to the right just a little bit, and you'll feel as it loosens up, and it won't go anymore if you try to put it to the right. And then basically you just peel off the lens like that. Now, if you're the person who likes to take the lenses off, make sure that you put the cover on it, because that's something that we always want to try to do, is protect the sensor from any type of dust and particles, hair, anything. Trust me, it easily gets in there. So always put the cap on it, and these caps usually come with the camera, but in my case I like to leave the lens on it, and that way I don't have to worry about that. There's two ways that you can actually view the photo before you take it on the Canon cameras, and now some of the others do have this option as well, and one is using the Viewfinder as well as what they call the live view in the back. Now, basically in the case of the Viewfinder, as you probably know, it has a mirror or prism that allows you to see throughout the lens to the top of the Viewfinder. The other one is actually using, like I mentioned, the Live Finder, which actually uses a direct connection to the sensor, and you can actually see what's coming out of your camera right there through the back. Now, I personally don't like to use a lot the Live Finder because what happens is many times you find yourself holding it out like this to see, and then it actually it's pretty hard to see if it's pure daylight. And when you have your arms out like this, it's prone to shake the camera. I like to look through the Viewfinder and actually put my elbows in, which I mentioned in some of my other videos, because it provides a more stable way of you taking photos. Next thing we're going to look at is make sure your camera has autofocus enabled on the lens. Now, many of the lenses have the option to turn this off because for many reasons that we won't explain here, but you want to make sure that if your lens has an option to autofocus, in this case, as you can see here, there's a little switch that provides that option to turn it on and turn it off. Make sure that's on, so when you start taking photos, your camera's in focus and doing all the stuff that it's supposed to do. Time and date on your camera. Pretty basic, right? Now, this is really critical that we set the right information, because if we start taking a lot of photos and importing it to some of these programs, those programs will use the timestamp on the photos, and if that's wrong, trust me, it could get bad really fast. Okay, so to get to the settings for the time and date, we're going to go ahead and turn on our camera. We're going to hit the menu button, and you're going to see it's come up with a bunch of options. Now, we want to look for the yellow screen, which is this one, and you'll see that you'll have obviously 4 different screens on the yellow screen, and we're going to bring it over to number 2 by hitting the dial here, or as well as tapping on the screen, and you'll see here date, time, and zone. And here then it's pretty straightforward. You basically look for what we want to change, starting by the month, day, and year. We tap the button, and you're going to see you get the options with the arrow up and down, and you can go ahead and change it. Once you select the correct time, you press the button again, and you press the right button here to go to the right, and you'll see they'll move on to the next field, and you'll see there you got the date, day, year, and then you can put in the time as military format. So for example, right now it's 2:44, which means it's 14. And then under here you can set the time zone as well. Once you're done, you just navigate all the way down to the OK button and you're set. The second one, which is actually it drives me nuts, is the beep on the camera. I'm going to show you how to turn this off. Now there's 3 modes that we have on the camera that we can set this to, and it's actually right on the first option here, which is the red screen, and actually on the first panel you'll see beep. We have enable, which means that it'll turn on all the times whenever we press any of the things on the screen or as we press the shutter. And you have the one that is touch to disable, which means that if I press the screen, it will not make any sound. For example, now you'll see that it makes a sound. If I put touch to this, it means that it'll still do the beep when I press the shutter, but it won't do it when I press the panel. I like to go ahead and set this to disable entirely. The next thing to get you started is actually to format the card. Now there's a bunch of options of cards out there, different sizes, different speeds, but they all have one thing in common, which is that we need to format it for your camera. Check out the manual to see where the memory card slot is located. In this case, the Canon AD, it's actually here on the right, and I'm going to go ahead and open it here, and it's going to give me the option to put it written here to the side. Some of them will have them sometimes underneath the battery, but this one has it on the side. And when it comes to formatting, you basically going to go to the menu, which is the yellow wrench, and we're going to select it. It's an option number 4. I'm going to hit format, and it's going to show you right away if there's anything on the card as it is right now. So if there's data, you'll see a number, but in this case you want to go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to go ahead and format the card for you. As well as the format card, there's actually an option in there which allows the camera to shoot without the memory card, and that is something really dangerous because it's happened to me where you're out there taking a bunch of shots and you come home, you take out your memory card to put into the computer, and then bam, surprise, you just realize that you don't have any photos. To turn off the option of release shutter without card, it's right here on the first option as well, which is the red, and on the first you'll see it right underneath the beep actually, and here's where we turn this off. And what that will do is that it will disable the ability to take photos unless we have a memory card. The thing that is also really important to set up is your diopter, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but this is where you actually set up the distance of your viewfinder, which is where you're looking at your image through the camera. And if you're a person like me who wears eyeglasses, well, you can actually adjust it so you don't have to have them on while you take the photos. And here's how you set this up. Here, basically you'll see your plus and a minus on the right hand side of the viewfinder, and this allows us to adjust how far and close this is from the viewfinder so we can then be able to see our stuff in perfect focus. Next one is the camera timer. Now of course sometimes you want to be able to come out in your shot, right? So most of the cameras have by default a 10-second timer, but some of them even actually have 2 seconds. So I'm going to show you how to set it up on the Canon cameras. You can actually find this under the drive mode, and in this case this camera actually has the ability to shoot 10 seconds as well as 2. And when I hit that, I can select here 2 seconds, as well as I can come right next to it and see where it says the options of 10 seconds. When it comes to the camera mode that we're going to be using, what I'm going to recommend that you use is actually the automatic mode. And as I mentioned in my previous videos, if you're actually starting from scratch, it's good that you leave it in automatic because that way you see what the camera is doing and what settings it's using. Now many of the cameras like the Canon actually have 2 automatic modes, one without the flash and one with the flash. One is the file format, and this is one that comes up with a lot of debate because many people say you have to shoot raw, you need to shoot, because that's the way that professional photographers do it. Well, if you're starting brand new, I recommend that you leave it on JPEG, and here's how you set it. And this is where actually the camera will prepare the file for you to compress it automatically. Now unless you have a software that actually can process raw files, I would recommend to leave it like that until you actually get into that step of editing and importing into something like Adobe Lightroom, and something that allows you to be able to edit raw files. So for starters, I would say leave it as JPEG, and that way you're good to go. Get ahead and hit the Q button one more time, and on the bottom right here you'll see RAW. Now this camera, which is the Canon AD, has the ability to write 2 different file formats at the same time, and as you can see it has I only have it set to RAW right now. I actually have the second option as a line, which means that it will not write the JPEG, but if I wish to shoot only JPEG, I would click the turn off the RAW and turn on the second option here, which is the JPEG, which means it'll shoot at 24 megapixels. And once that's done, I just hit the save button, the set button to save it, and there it is. Okay guys, so those are the settings that I would do on your camera as soon as you get it, and that should be able to get you started to go ahead and taking all those great photos. Now I will be making more videos like this to help you get started on your brand new camera, and if there's any question that you have or anything you want to know, feel free to comment on the comments below, and I'll hopefully do a video for this for you guys. And so if this is the first time watching these videos, my name is Dizzy Nuts, and I do videos like this from my home as well as from the park, and food reviews and other stuff with my wife. So feel free to hit subscribe button, comment and share and subscribe so we can keep these videos flowing. So until then guys, stay awesome. See ya. Bye.